Have you ever gotten to that place in your business where you've come across a function or a task and you think, ugh, I should really just outsource this. But then you think to yourself, that's a huge leap of faith, and I'm not even really sure how to go about outsourcing. Well, today you are in luck. My friend and my guest, Nathan Hirsch, is here to talk to you and teach you how to outsource like a pro. Episode 143 starts right now. Hey there, welcome to the Lora Shipman Show. We hang out here weekly to talk about things like social media, entrepreneurship, marketing, tools, strategies, tips, and it all starts right now. Hey there, before we get started with this show, I just want to share my passion with you. I love teaching people just like you how to master social media for business, breaking it down into easy to consume and easy to execute steps so that you can see immediate results. So whether you want to start a social media consultancy or grow your brand's presence on social media, I can help. I can help you get started and master all the things that you need to know. So I want you to go over to my website. It is filled with resources, tools, tips, and courses. Visit lorashipman.com. That's LORA shipman.com to get all the goods. Now, you ready for the show? I know I am. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. I'm so excited because Nathan Hirsch is here with me from Free Up, and he is going to tell us all sorts of information. I can't wait for you to meet him because he is a wealth of knowledge. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. So let everybody know a little bit about who you are, what you do, all those great things.
Yeah, so I'm a longtime entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years now. I've never had a real job. And I really started back in 2008 buying and selling people's textbooks in college. And I created a little referral program. Before I knew it, I had lines out the door of people trying to sell me their books, to the point where I got a cease and desist letter from my college telling me to knock it off because I was stealing too much money from their bookstore. Oh. So that was my first glimpse into being an entrepreneur, and I was addicted. I thought it was so cool, and I started selling these books on Amazon. This was 2008, 2009. So no one really knew what Amazon was. It was just bursting onto the scenes. And I thought it was cool. I could have this 24/7 storefront, and I just had to figure out what products to sell. So I started experimenting with outdoor products, video games, computers, typical college guy stuff, right? And I just failed. The only thing I could get to sell is these books. And it's not until I branch out of my comfort zone and come across baby products that I start to get sales and my business starts to take off. So if you can imagine me as a 20-year-old single college guy with more hair selling baby products on Amazon, that was me. And this business exploded. I'm making more money than any college kid should. And my parents tell me I should probably pay taxes, right? So I meet with an accountant, and the first question he asked me is, when are you going to hire your first person? Mm-hmm. And I kind of shrugged him off. Like, why would I do that? That's money out of my pocket. They're going to steal my ideas. Typical entrepreneurial stuff, excuses that young entrepreneurs make. And he just laughed in my face. And he said, you're going to learn this lesson on your own. Well, sure enough, my first busy season comes around, the fourth quarter, Christmas time. Everyone's buying toys. Everyone's buying baby products. And I just get destroyed. I'm working 20 hours a day, doing every part of my business, customer service, filling every order, changing every price. And my social life plummets. My grades go down. I work my butt off for 8 weeks to keep this business alive. And finally, when I make it to the other side, I'm like, oh my God, he was right. I need to start hiring people. So I try hiring college kids for a little bit. I only make one good hire, my business partner, Connor, who I've been working with for 10 years. But I realized college kids, not very reliable. And so that's when I pivoted out of necessity into the remote hiring world, the Upworks, the Fivers, the virtual assistants. And I got pretty good at it. Again, hired some good people, but I hated the Upworks and the Fivers. I hated posting a job, getting 100 applicants, interviewing them one by one. It just took forever. And so I kept looking for something faster. And when I couldn't find it, I said, you know what? I'll build it myself. So Connor and I set out with $5,000. We made this minimum viable product, this really crummy software, and we took it to market. And the whole concept was, we'll pre-vet the freelancers and VAs before they even get on the platform. We'll match you up with someone quickly, 24/7 support. If anything goes wrong, let us know. We'll fix it. and a no turnover guarantee. If someone quits, we cover all replacement costs, get you someone else. And we're very humbled. People fell in love with the idea, and that business grew organically from that $5,000 investment to $1 million to $5 million to $9 million to $12 million last year. And about halfway through last year, one of our clients reached out to us about acquiring us. They wanted to get into the space, and that's a whole nother story we can talk about later. But we ended up getting acquired at the end of last year, helping with the transition there. We love the new owners. We think they're going to take really good care of the company and crush it. And now that we're done with that, we're focused on our new venture, Outsource School, which is really teaching people how we did it, because FreeUp became an 8-figure business that had no US employees, no office. It was me, my business partner, Connor, and 35 VAs in the Philippines. And we didn't just wake up one day and hire 35 people and cross our fingers and hope it worked out. We had real systems and processes to interview and onboard and train and manage them. And not only that, but use them for getting on podcasts or social media and specific things. So through Outsource School, through software, through education, we want to teach people how to do it. And that's a short version of how I went from books to baby products to FreeUp to now Outsource School.
Wow, that is an incredible story. And like outsourcing is something that everybody needs. I mean, it's one of those things. And I actually started as a VA myself. And I loved that whole VA business. And I loved working for the different clients. And I learned so much as a process to doing what I'm doing now. And then I finally found my niche. So that's really exciting. So I guess, okay, I have a couple questions. So do you still have those older businesses that you were doing, like the baby products and stuff like that? Or are you still active there?
No. So what ended up happening was we got in at a really good time, right? Before anyone else was doing Amazon. And we're doubling every year. We're selling other people's products. We don't have any patents. Amazon, it controls the brand. So we're not really growing a brand, but we're doubling. And at the beginning, we're like, oh, we're going to take over the world. We're going to take down Amazon one day. And then Amazon becomes more crowded. More sellers come out, the courses, the gurus. And we're not doubling every year. We're not going out of business, but we're kind of staying in that $2 to $4 million a year range. And it got old after a while. I mean, we're selling B2C. We're not really helping other business owners, and we're not growing a brand. We're not selling our own products. So when FreeUp took off and surpassed our Amazon business, we transferred that business we had a third partner that we added, and Connor and I focused just on FreeUp, and then FreeUp was acquired, and now we're just focused on Outsource School.
Okay, cool. So a couple of things. So tell me, I guess, with hiring and outsourcing, there's like a ton of questions that just come to mind because I haven't done that yet myself. So how do you identify when the right time is that you jump off that ledge? And it's also kind of like a leap of faith too. So work us through the, I guess, psychology of that whole thing. When you know the right time and when to jump.
Yeah. So the first thing that I always recommend is setting a budget. And we have a really cool VA calculator on Outsource School that you can put in information in your business, how aggressive, how conservative you want to be. And it'll tell you how many VAs you can afford and whether it's one full-time, whether it's one part-time. And the beauty of hiring VAs, as you know, is you don't need to hire someone full-time. I have a bookkeeper that I hire 5 hours a month, $5 an hour, $25 a month. And my first VA with FreeUp was 2 hours a day from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. just to clear my inbox and give me a head start to every day. So you got to figure out how many hours you can really afford. You don't have to hire people full time, but once you understand what you can actually afford, the next step is to create a list of everything that you do on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. And I like to prioritize it by what I hate doing the most, although I don't recommend doing that for new people. I recommend starting with easiest to hardest and chipping away at the top with the easiest tasks and getting them off your plate. But those are really the two starting points. And there's no perfect time. I mean, if you think of like hiring too early or hiring too late, you're never going to get it exactly right. And you just have to make that decision. Do I want to invest a little bit earlier and get a head start and accelerate my business? Or do I want to be a little bit more conservative and wait until I have more revenue, more profit, all of that?
Okay, that's really good. And I like how you say get the easiest things off your plate first, then the stuff that you dislike doing the most. That makes a lot of sense. So, okay, so then if I'm going to get the easiest things off my plate first, how do I find that perfect person? And actually, let me back up for a second. So do you recommend working with people who are domestic or international, or does it matter?
So the way that I break down hiring is there's followers, there's doers, and there's experts, right? So followers, think $5 to $10 an hour, non-US, they're there to follow your systems, your processes. If you don't know how to do something, you can't really hire a follower. And I almost always hire in the Philippines for followers. For doers and experts, the doers are more specialists like graphic designers, video editors, writers. And here, I'm probably going more US, although I have a graphic designer who's in India, who's fantastic. I have video editors that are in the Philippines that are awesome. So that can go either way. But you're not teaching a graphic designer how to be a graphic designer, and they're not consulting with you. They're the doers. And then the experts are $30 an hour, $1,000 an hour, whatever it is. They could be agencies, consultants, coaches, high-level freelancers, and they bring their own systems, their own process to the table, and they're bringing that strategy. And again, it could be US or non-US. But the key there is to make sure you're not hiring someone for $5 an hour in the Philippines and saying, I don't know how to run Facebook ads, go run my Facebook ads. Or on the flip side, you're not hiring someone who has their own system, has their own process they've had success with, and hiring them and saying, oh, do this my way.
Right. Okay. So then how do you find that right person though? Like, what do you look for? Like, how can you make sure that you don't fall into a trap of somebody who's maybe maybe you didn't know how to vet them properly or something like that?
Yeah, so we go through this a lot in our course, the Cracking the VA Code, which kind of walks through our exact process for interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing. And I think the key, really the biggest key, is most entrepreneurs know that you need to interview a virtual assistant, right? Most entrepreneurs know you need to train a VA. Most entrepreneurs know you, in some level, you have to manage a VA. But the part that everyone misses is that onboarding. And if you take anything away from this podcast, that is really the key. And I'll give you an example. So let's say that I interview a few virtual assistants. I want to hire Jane. I want to hire Jane at $5 an hour. What the average entrepreneur does is they say, Jane, that was a great interview. You're hired at $5 an hour. Let's jump into training. What I want to teach people to do is, Jane, that was a great interview. I want to hire you at $5 an hour. Let's first make sure you're good with $5 an hour. Maybe something changed between the interview and the onboarding. And if you are, I'm going to take you through what I call my SICK method. SICC, which is schedule, issues, communication, and culture. And I'm going to lay out expectations. I'm going to have some questions for you. Please ask questions if you have any. If it's not a fit, I'd rather you back out now before we jump into training. And so I talk about the schedule of the job. If it's graveyard shift, have you worked graveyard shift before? What other clients do you have? What's their schedule? How many total hours are you working a week? Getting that full picture. For issues, I'm going to talk about computer, personal, weather, internet, power. Do you have backups? How bad is the weather in your area? Go through each one so I understand each situation and whether they're one issue away from not being able to work for an extended period of time. Communication, I'm going to go over, hey, we use Slack, we use email, we use Viber. This is how we use each one. You have to be on Slack when you're working, and everyone has their own communication methods. And then culture, I'm going to go through values, beliefs, what we want out of them in terms of feedback and ideas. And at the end of all that, I'm giving them a chance to back out because, again, I'd much rather they back out then. Because what a lot of entrepreneurs do is they have a vague job posting. They give a little bit of information during the interview, and then the VA doesn't really know what they're getting into until you start the training. And by then, they've already committed. So you want to spend that extra, and it only takes about 30 minutes to get on the same page with expectations, make sure they really want what you want, and that's going to save you hours and hours down the line.
That's amazing. Can you tell us that acronym again? I thought that was brilliant. I think it helps.
SICC, SICC.
And it stands for?
Schedule, issues, communication, and culture.
I love that. That is great. Okay. So you got us there. Now, what if we decide to have more than one VA or virtual assistant? How do we effectively make sure that the whole machine is working properly and we're not letting things fall apart?
Yeah, so there's two sides of that. I mean, one, you never want a situation where it's 10 VAs and you're managing all of them. You want team leaders and assistant team leaders. You should have your own standard operating procedures with what a team leader actually means, what people they're responsible for, what tasks they're responsible for. And the second part of it is meetings. And I kind of break down meetings into three different types. I have a meeting with everyone at the beginning of the week, usually Monday morning if possible. We get on the same page. We talk about last week. We talk about projects coming up. Everyone shares updates. And there's also a little bit of relationship building during that meeting as well. Then each team, so if you have an accounting team, if you have a social media team, customer service team, they each have a meeting each week. And you should be running those meetings at first, but eventually we let the team leaders take over those meetings and be responsible for their teams. And then lastly, we do a one-on-one meeting every quarter. I actually just did my first one-on-one meeting for Outsource School, where we practice what we preach. We're actually clients of Free Up now, which is kind of weird. But we hired VAs and freelancers, and we're doing our first one-on-one meeting, and we're asking, hey, how did that go? What feedback do you have? We're showing some appreciation for their hard work last quarter and getting on the same page there. So when you have those meetings, you're going to be a lot more organized. Everyone's going to know what they're doing, and they can leave that meeting ready to go and conquer and then report back the next week or the next quarter.
That's really good. I love how you have that structured. It makes so much sense. I have a question about building culture when you've got meetings, if they're and you've got employees or VAs or whatever, and they're spread out everywhere. How do you build a culture for a business if you're not in the same building?
Yeah, so it comes down to a lot of things. I mean, there's some things that we do that I recommend doing. So on a Monday morning meeting, for example, the first 5 minutes of every meeting, everyone just shares a picture of their weekend. And you can comment, you can share, everyone gets to know each other. People post some funny pictures. Doesn't take much time, builds some camaraderie, and then you move forward. And what we have an acronym that's called the BARF method, which is a funny acronym, but it's BARF, and it's buying in, appreciation, building relationships, and family. And this is not only the key to building a good culture, but it's a key to reducing turnover as well. I mean, it is the way that we went from 50% turnover on our Amazon business to less than 3% turnover at FreeUp. And buying in is showing people why you're passionate about your business. Who are you helping? What's the why? How are their tasks impacting the big picture? Showing appreciation is not being that client that only talks to the VA when they do something wrong and saying, hey, great job. Hey, that was an awesome week. See you on Monday. Building a relationship is getting to know them, connecting with them on social media, learning about their family, sharing about your interests. And then that family environment is so important, especially if you hire people in the Philippines who are all about family. A lot of times they have large families in one house. They have family communities in church and other places. You want to build a family where they all like each other and get along with each other. And like right now, I hired a VA for me to organize my schedule. And the first thing she's doing every single week is setting up a one-on-one meeting with everyone on the team just to get to know them. And so that is incredibly important, because if another client comes in with a higher paying offer, they don't want to leave their family. So that buying in, appreciation, relationships, and family is that key.
That's amazing. And I love that you have these acronyms that you work with. And it shows that you really sit down and think about the structure of your business. And I think if you spend that time up front where you think about, you may not need to be a master of coming up with acronyms, but you really think about what that culture should look like for your business, it translates through everything.
Right.
I think that's key.
You talk about the advantages of hiring a virtual assistant versus an in-person employee. Can you take us through that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, listen, the world was going remote before all this craziness happened anyway. This has kind of accelerated it. And there's a time and a place for internal employees if that's your preference. I had an office. It was one of the worst business decisions I ever made. I added an overhead to a business that didn't need it. I felt like I created a 9-to-5 job for myself that I didn't like. And I feel like I'm better at managing remote teams for whatever reason. But any business can hire remote. I mean, when I ran FreeUp, my sushi restaurant that I really liked down the street, they hired a VA for social media. My gym hired a freelancer to build their website. So yes, you might need the cashiers and the warehouse staff and stuff like that, but you can complement them with virtual assistants. And not only that, and I was talking to some people yesterday about this, they love their office. They love their full-time employees. They're paying their full-time employees $50,000 plus a year. Go to that employee and say, hey, what tasks are you doing that are not worth $50,000 a year? Let's get you a 10-hour-a-week VA to do those tasks so you can focus on bigger and better things. And they're going to like it. You're going to get more productivity. And there's creative ways to create that hybrid if that's the route you want to go.
That's brilliant. That's a great idea. And it kind of makes that person accountable for their role a little bit better. And it gives them that authority to say, hey, well, it's like in entrepreneurship. You know what I'm saying? They're taking control of their business, their role, whatever it is in the business, and having that VA. I think that's fantastic. So tell us a little bit more about Outsource School. I want to know exactly what that is, what that looks like.
Yeah, so there's two components of it. We got the software and we got the courses. So the software, where the same developer that built FreeUp is working on an SOP building software to help you create standard operating procedures for your VA and value your time at the highest level. So we're going to be releasing that in the next 60 days. If anyone wants free beta access, join our newsletter. And then after that, he's going to be working on really building a toolbox of tools that complement you with your virtual assistant. Now, on the flip side, we have our courses and our workshops and our playbooks. So for courses, we have the Cracking the VA Code, which goes through our exact process of interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing VAs. Everything from how to fire a VA to how to run meetings to screen shares of us interviewing a virtual assistant. So you can watch us do it and what to look for, the good and the bad, and we're there to help you along the way. Then we have more specific workshops for, hey, how to use a virtual assistant to get on more podcasts, how to use a virtual assistant to do lead generation or to do your bookkeeping. And like our podcast outreach formula, which is another course we just launched, is how to wake up every day to a list of podcasts in your industry and their contact information for you to reach out to. So stuff like that. And then we're also going to be bringing in eventually other experts to teach how to use VAs on how to do specific things. So a combination of education and software, and we're excited to see how it all comes together.
I think that's really interesting. Like I love the software tools that you're putting together. And then the courses are incredible. Like even just how to fire a VA. I mean, that is something that I don't know if I would know how to do that as well as I probably should. Right. So I think that's going to be like really, really interesting for people to check out. Well, is there anything else that we didn't cover here today that you want to go over that maybe I missed?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons. I could talk about VAs for the next 20 hours, but I think one lesson is to just diversify. Don't fall into a habit of, hey, I love this person, I'm going to load them up with everything. That puts your business in a really risky spot. Try to split it up by teams. Even if you have to hire 2 part-time VAs instead of 1 full-time, that's going to protect your business long-term.
I also think like it's that communication and contact with the VA. Like you just don't hire them and let them go and do their thing. You need to make sure that you're giving them the information, the tools, the structure, whatever it is that you see in your vision for your business.
Yeah, completely agree.
Well, Nathan, this was so much fun. Is there anywhere that people can connect with you on social media that we can leave in the show notes and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm one of the easiest people to contact. Nathan Hirsch on Facebook and LinkedIn, the real Nate Hirsch on Instagram and Twitter. If I can help you in any way, even if it has nothing to do with VAs, feel free to reach out to me. And then, get that free VA calculator at outsourceschool.com/VA calculator.
And I'll link to all of that in the show notes so you guys can download this. Nathan, this was exciting. It was great meeting you here and learning all about you, your entrepreneurial journey, and your businesses.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey there, I just want to say thank you for spending time with me here today. I know your time is super valuable, which is why I am dedicated to providing lots of usable, actionable information in the shortest amount of time possible. Before you go, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. And if you have ideas or topics you would like me to cover in an upcoming show, let me know about it in the comment section provided.